Our thoughts create our reality. So unless I do that, then I'm not actually uprooting it. Just like I can go out to the garden and pull a weed, and it may look like it's gone, but unless I pull away that root, that weed's going to slowly grow back and manifest into the outer reality above ground. I'm starting to learn a lot about energy and the flow of energy, and I'm realizing, you know what, Dave is giving me a lot of energy right now. It's a lot of hate. I mean, he's hating on me, but it's energy. And I know that energy is neutral. And so he has it charged a certain way, but once I receive it, it becomes my energy to do with what I want. Just like if you're not aware of the fact that plants have an entire existence below ground, and you're only aware of the plant's existence above ground, you're never going to uproot that weed either. So you're going to have to dive deep, get your hands dirty, get in the mud, and really unearth what's down there and examine. The lack consciousness is at the root is your own value, because your outer reality is going to reflect your inner reality. And so if your outer reality is reflecting to you a lack of value, then that's because in your inner reality, you lack a self-value and self. It's not necessarily like what goes around comes around. It's what can I understand? So that's your karma, what you have to learn in this life. Whereas the dharma is what you have to give. The understandings you've already built, spent lifetimes building. And so that's where the whole what goes around comes into play, because the time between when it comes back around, we have space to learn and build that understanding, but most of us don't choose to do it. Until I finally actually learn, then I can eliminate that cycle. For maybe 10 years now, energy healing on others. I mean, like my family or something, I'll okay, come over here and work with it. But also because I also work with them on the mental, but mainly because, if I have some sort of physical issue going on and I remove that symptom energetically using my hand chakras, I may think that I'm healed, but unless I eliminate the roots, which is the mind, because thought is cause. Our thoughts create our reality. So unless I do that, then I'm not actually uprooting it. Just like I can go out to the garden and pull a weed, and it may look like it's gone, but unless I pull away that root, that weed's going to slowly grow back and manifest into the outer reality above ground. Just like if I don't uproot that within my mind, it's going to slowly manifest into my outer physical reality to where I can see it and perceive it through a symptom of some kind. But yes, that is what I'm talking about. But you can use it for so much more than just healing and things. Mm-hmm. One thing that I use it for, I do, teach and share this, and to be able to make it as free as possible in what I do, I also have a day job, selling mortgage. And I also use my hand chakras on the electronic equipment that I use to be able to move the energy to communicate with the electronics on what things I wanted to create for me. Mm-hmm. And I first learned this a long time when I first got into metaphysics and things. I was learning about chakras and things and hand chakras, and I have healed myself of a serious heart issue that was going on for 2 years, and something growing on the back of my head for the previous year. And then I found out about hand chakras. I was like, okay, let me figure this out, and if it's really real, let's put it to the test right now, because I have some stuff I need to heal. And within 30 days, both were completely gone, and haven't seen a sign of them since. And that was over 11, 12 years ago. But anyways, shortly after that, I'm at a friend's house playing Madden. All my other friends are there. And the friend that I'm playing against is one who, nobody's really beating him a whole lot, this version of Madden. Mm-hmm. And his best friend is standing over both of our shoulders, and he's talking a bunch of trash to me. And I'm starting to learn a lot about energy and the flow of energy. And I'm realizing, you know what, Dave is giving me a lot of energy right now. It's a lot of hate. He's hating on me, but it's energy. And I know that energy is neutral. And so he has it charged a certain way, but once I receive it, it becomes my energy to do with what I want. And so, and I'm getting stomped right now. Like I'm down 21-0. They're talking about pass the sticks. And I'm like, nah, hold on. And so I'm like, I just start using my breath to push the energy through my hands. And out of nowhere, he throws a pick six, all this stuff just starts happening just for me. And I'm not even paying attention to the game anymore. I'm completely internal and paying attention to just the energy I'm receiving and moving it out my hands into the controller. I'm not even giving it any direction of what to do within the controller because I'm very early on with this. And so I just know that I'm feeding the energy that Dave's giving me. I'm transmuting it inside myself and moving it through the controller. And next thing I know, I beat him like 14, by 14 points. And everybody's like, oh, they're all like shocked, like I had this comeback of the year. But I just know all I was doing was moving the energy into the electronics. And so from that point, I've then practiced a lot of different things like that. And, the more that I'm aware of it, I've put it to practice and things. But yeah, you can use your hand chakras to work with energy in so many different ways. So many different ways.
So when I started losing the game, I like focus into the control.
Yeah. But it's a game. It's all about willpower, which is kind of one thing I wanted to touch on when you're talking about your throat chakra. Because the energy of the throat chakra is all about willpower. So any game, it's who has the most willpower and who's willing themselves to get there. Who is implementing the most energy to manifest what they are desiring over the other's willpower. Like on a football, we all just watch the Super Bowl. You have the momentum. It's just all about all of the energy going into it. And something like the football game, the Super Bowl versus a peewee game or a high school game, you have millions of people feeding energy into this right. Willpower of what manifests. But anyways, that's just all what it's about. So not necessarily, if you were losing anything that you were doing solely, but in comparison to the will of the other individual, and what they were doing, because that's also going to come into play as far as how much willpower they have, as far as how many hours they put in before this. How many times were they playing Madden by themselves just to be able to have that will and get better versus where, I'm like more of a casual guy. I'll play with my friends every, I don't even know the last time, but the willpower really comes into play.
For sure. What is it that practice will beat out technique and skill every time?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Control is definitely going to be a little bit better than the person that's naturally good at it.
Yeah.
There's something you said a moment ago about if you didn't uproot the thought or didn't uproot the cause in your mind, that you didn't really get rid of it. How does one uproot something that was negative, or how do they uproot a thought that they no longer wish to have there?
Yeah, well, you have to first identify the root, so, and that's why I like to talk about like the structure of the mind and wrote the book on it. Not like I wrote the book on it, but I wrote a book on this ancient knowledge. But because it's so paramount and vital to everything else that I share, it's built upon that. And so it's the awareness is going to be the first thing. Just like if you're not aware of what's going on beneath the surface, the physical that you see and the aggressive conscious mind that's always at the forefront. If you're not aware of what's beneath that, then it's going to be very hard for you to uproot anything. Just like if you're not aware of the fact that plants have an entire existence below ground and you're only aware of the plant's existence above ground, you're never going to uproot that weed either. And so how do you uproot a weed? Well, unless you're very proficient at being able to grab it at the base and really pull it out to where the whole root comes with it, you're going to have to dig it out. So you're going to have to dive deep, get your hands dirty, get in the mud and really unearth what's down there and examine, okay, is this still a part of the weed of the same plant, or is this connected to something else? Is this a bulb to a flower that's been waiting to sprout, but the weed has been taking up all the nutrients? Oh, I should leave that there. Or this is part of the weed, I should pull it out. So the same thing with your mind, you need to really examine and dive deep and dig in of what's really there. So like, for example, the manifestation thing that I talked about earlier of like, I need more money. What's at the core of that? Like you talked about lack consciousness and things that a lot of us experience. Well, the lack consciousness is at the root is your own value, because your outer reality is going to reflect your inner reality. And so if your outer reality is reflecting to you a lack of value, then that's because in your inner reality, you lack a self-value and self-worth. And so that's how you can uproot that weed, and then change. And the better that you get at uprooting that weed and building and strengthening your self-value, you're going to see your outer life and outer environment reflect that same change back to you.
Tristan, what about people who say that they have past life trauma or ancestral trauma? How would you first? What are your thoughts on that? And then how would you uproot something that's like
Hey, we all do. It's called karma.
that?
It's
Right.
called karma. But for some, it's more in your face than others. For some, we've alleviated a lot more karma than others. For some, we've spent lifetimes trying to relieve some karma. And what I mean by karma is just two halves of your soul purpose, or one half of your soul purpose. You have the karma and the dharma. Karma is just what you have to receive, the understandings that you can build into yourself through the life lessons that you have the opportunity to learn. It's not necessarily like what goes around comes around. It's what can I understand? So, like, for example, if I come into this lifetime needing to understand leadership, needing to understand communication, needing to understand forgiveness, needing to understand self-love, then I'm going to cultivate for myself and design a life that provides me with the opportunity to learn what forgiveness truly means,
Mm.
with an opportunity to learn what self-love really means, with an opportunity to learn what leadership really means. And so that's your karma, what you have to learn in this life. Whereas the dharma is what you have to give, the understandings you've already built, spent lifetimes building. Me, my natural self, just existing and centered within, I exude, confidence, or I exude responsibility, or I exude, charm, or I exude joy, and so people around me can learn from that just by being in my presence. And so all of us can kind of identify different things about ourselves. So I sometimes say, what would your best friend say is your best quality?
Mm.
And whatever they say is probably attached to your dharma, what you have to give just by being your natural self. But the karma is what you have to receive, and that's what you're asking about. So we have different lifetimes where there's things that are sometimes were really hard for us to learn,
Mm.
or maybe we cause someone else to experience something, which means we've built up new karma, and now we need to understand what we've caused this other person to experience. And so that's where the whole what goes around comes into play, because the time between when it comes back around, we have space to learn and build that understanding, but most of us don't choose to do it. I had a relationship with this person. It was a terrible relationship. They were beating on me, and I just left the relationship. I didn't learn nothing from it. And
Mm.
then I'm telling my friends, hey, I found this new girl. It's amazing. Things are going great. 4 months later, she's beating on me too. But now she's beating on me emotionally and mentally. And so I'm not, I let me just leave it, and I don't learn from it, but I'm just getting out of there
Mm.
until I finally actually learn. Then I can eliminate that cycle. And now, the lesson may have been about self-worth and self-value. And then now I'm with someone and in a new relationship where I'm coming full, instead of going in circles, I've now upcycled, and I've come all the way back around because I'm on a spiral with this learning, and I'm on a new level with it. So now I'm still learning about self-worth and self-value, but since I've learned those lessons to value myself, now I'm with a partner who pushes me, or who draws me in to learning about self-worth and self-value because of the way that they love me. It now makes me want to build my self-value versus beating me down on it. You need to face
Right.
this, so it's the same lesson, but it's a whole different level. And so sometimes we can really see that in our lives and play out, whether it's like a relationship with a boss or a type of
Mm.
job. I got a new job, man. This job's different. I mean, this boss is amazing. And then 4 months later, your boss is so amazing, they got a promotion all the way out to Albuquerque. Now you have a new boss that's just like the last boss. And so we can see how those different cycles can play out in our lives. But for some of us, when it's been difficult to learn within lifetimes, we then will create extreme circumstances for ourselves within the current lifetime, to where it's like it's unavoidable. We are going to make sure we learn this time around. It's no longer wasting any time. We are going to be born into a circumstance that's going to make us face this.
Yeah.
you know
I heard recently someone talking about how the universe, God, however you want to call it, when there's a lesson that needs to be learned, you're gonna get
Mhm.
nudged. You're gonna get nudged. You get nudged. Then you're gonna get pushed
Yeah.
and thrown into the weeds. No, you need to learn this lesson before you can move on.
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
exactly.
I think it's funny
But
how.
it
Go ahead.
and it's because it's part of that blueprint, you know, like people talk about destiny and free will, both exist. That blueprint is your destiny that you have created for yourself. And so it's like, look, we've designed that we will learn this lesson, okay? But it's destiny. We all have free will. Nah, I ain't gonna learn it today. I'm not learning it today. Nah, I'm not learning it today. Nah, I'm not learning it. Hey, we're learning it, or we're going through something major. You're going to really have to work to not face this. you know yeah, yeah.
Why do you think people are so resistant to change and learning?
Well, it's fear, because like I said earlier on, fear is a matter of unawareness, and so i'm I would rather stay the same, even though it's painful. I'm aware of what that pain is like, and I know that I can handle it because I've been handling it. So as long as the pain is the same, I would rather remain the same instead of changing, and it could get better or it could get worse. you know. And so, I mean, each person is different, but for the most part, that's the main thing with most people is unawareness. They're unaware of what's on the other side. They're unaware of what life looks like being different. Me, I'm in a whole different lifetime than I was, 12, 13 years ago.
Bro.
And because of the growth I've had. Yeah. And so, like I could tell you a story, and it happens. I'll tell stories of how I used to be when I was younger in my mid to early 20s and teenage years. And
Yeah.
people just laugh and don't believe it. Like, man, because I joke around a lot. So like, yeah, this is another joke. It's like, no, that's how I used to be. It is not good.
Yeah,
So,
I do the same thing. I have a picture on my Facebook that I haven't taken down. I was gonna take it down a while ago, and
yeah,
I didn't take it down because I was like, it's a reminder. At least at this point, it's a reminder of me to me how far I've come. Because I was
yeah,
like that. I used to be used to be crazy.
absolutely.
That was crazy to me. I'm sure to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But just the things I used to do back in the day. Same thing, like you said, just the late teens, early 20s, early to mid 20s, and
Hmm.
I was it was in the process of me finding myself and discovering really who I was. But to be honest with you, it wasn't until I hit 30 that I felt as if there was a drastic shift.
Hmm.
And it was leading up to that. So around like 20, I think that was like
Mm,
29,
that makes
where,
sense.
where I
Yeah.
was.
The Saturn return.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And
Yeah.
I was getting into that process as I was ready to change. And then
Hmm.
30 was the first time when somebody asked me, "How do you feel on your birthday?" I feel different.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Beautiful.
different.
Beautiful.
But that's
Nice.
about all the time that we have for today. I want to thank you for
Okay.
staying on, a little bit
Yeah,
longer,
absolutely.
dive a little bit more deeply into these topics. And
Yeah.
I want to definitely have you back on to talk about some more stuff because I just
Yeah.
love your
Anytime.
approach to metaphysics
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
your thought
I
process.
enjoy it.
And I want to
Yeah, I
thank
could I could go on for hours until you
Oh
cut
yeah,
me
please
off.
do,
I go.
man. I am definitely all about it. And I want to thank everybody who stuck around to the end to watch this entire episode.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a good one, everyone. Bye.
All right. Peace.
On the surface, my life was on track. I was a medical laboratory scientist with a degree in biochemistry, and I was preparing for a PhD. My mind was trained to see the world in data and repeatable results, but inside, I was lost. I was lost amidst the sea of depression and this overwhelming feeling that there had to be something more. Have you ever had an experience you couldn't quite explain? A moment where you felt so deeply connected to everything around you. For years, both as a scientist and as a seeker, I asked pretty much anybody who would listen these questions. You see, my journey to find this more didn't begin in the lab, but in a space of quiet meditation. As I started to heal, I was faced with a profound choice, a voice that asked, do you want to help the world by studying the brain or by showing people how you healed your mind? I chose the latter, and I decided to call my dad. whom I often refer to as my first spiritual teacher. Years ago, he hosted these gatherings in our home for people to explore science and spirituality, and he called them Onion Soup. When I decided to create a space for these conversations, I asked my dad if I could carry on the name. He gave me his blessing, and the podcast was born. Onion Soup. The name itself is our philosophy. Life, consciousness, and the universe are all like an onion. As we peel back one layer, we find another. And just like a hearty bowl of soup, these deep conversations are meant to be comforting, nourishing, and soothing to the soul. Onion Soup is more than just a podcast. It's a space for those who are curious and those who are seekers. A place to be inspired to expand your own awareness and to soothe the soul by resonating with what your spirit already knows is true. Today, that space is growing. It's so much bigger than what I could have ever imagined. But to write this next chapter, I need your help. I'm inviting you to become a true partner in our mission. With your support through this Patreon, we can achieve 3 critical goals together. First, sustainability. To provide the resources to make Onion Soup a fully sustainable long-term project. Second, elevation. To reinvest, improving our sound and video quality. And to travel the world conducting powerful on-site interviews with our guests face-to-face. And third, expansion. To build the professional assets needed to bring our conversations to a major network, sharing this work with millions. If this message resonates with you, please look at our tiers below. For as little as $5 a month, you can get ad-free episodes and join our private community. You can become a supporter, an insider, a co-creator, or even a partner in this vision. Whatever you choose, thank you for being here and for being a part of the Onion Soup journey. Now, let's peel back these layers together.